Hello, guys. Welcome. It's your boy Nick, the Big Herb, whatever you prefer to call me. And first of all, most happy Friday, guys. And obviously, I usually do my mental health videos, around this time of day or just day in general. But today, I actually want to change it up a little bit. I want to talk some basketball. I haven't talked basketball in a very quite some time. I've been watching, but I haven't been speaking, because I haven't watched enough. But in this video, I want to talk about who I think are the real deal, the real contenders this season for the NBA championship and why I think that and maybe some teams that I think are on the brink or up and coming and like we should be looking out for. And obviously some teams I just don't think. Even though they are a good team, I don't think that they're at the point where we as fans or just, people of fans of other teams need to be worried about them. And yeah, so obviously, first and foremost, starting in the East, Boston, Milwaukee. The thing about Milwaukee is I can't say too much about them, but I'll get into that later. But definitely them. The Knicks looking like they're a pretty big threat. Cleveland has been playing very strong. And actually, in this video, I'm actually going to talk about Donovan Mitchell because I think we need to start looking at him and speaking of him as the best two guard in the league. And just to kind of go off track here, I think he is. I think he's averaging about 27, 29. He's the best player on that team. There's no doubt about it. He's a really good defender. He came into the league as a defender out of college. His playmaking is good. He is a really good passer. It's just he doesn't have as good of shooters that will change the 5, 6 assists that he averages to maybe 8 or 9. He's a really good passer because of how strong and how much of a threat he is with the ball, especially finishing, because he's a very good finisher. I personally think I don't know if I can say he's a better finisher than Ant, but I think all around game, I think he has a better game than Ant and D-Book. I think he's a much better defender than both of them. And I think that he's a much better playmaker and passer. And I think he's a little bit better of a shooter. I definitely think and D-Book, I think they have a little bit better of a mid-range than Donovan. But nonetheless, Donovan is very strong. And I think we need to have conversations about seeing him as the best two guard in the league, as I do. I definitely do. And I think Cleveland's tough. I think they are. I believe that if Grayson Allen and Evan Mobley stay healthy, I think that they could be a really big defensive threat as well as good rebounding. Obviously, Max Strus and Dean Wade, they're not the greatest shooters. They're okay. I've heard people kind of iterate to Max Strus as like a fake shooter. He's not a shooter, but he's not like a threat that you would assume he would be, right? And you have Milwaukee. Their perimeter defense is sus. They lost a lot when they traded Drew Holiday, which I understand. You get a guy like Dame, but the problem with Dame is this man don't play no defense, and I know he can. I know Damian Lillard can play defense, but he chooses not to. I don't know why. And he's a really good scorer, and he could pass. Don't get me wrong. And he's a finisher. He's a good finisher. He's not who he was in Portland. Obviously, we understand that age plays a factor in that. Not everyone here is LeBron. We get that. And obviously, Giannis. I mean, one of the most unstoppable players in the league. One of the best players in the league. Just an all-around force, very dominant, both defensively and offensively. And if he's able to make people respect him as a shooter, and I'm not saying, you have to kind of play airtight on him, but at least give a contest, right? And make people see, okay, he's not going to be afraid. And he can hit one or two, maybe, and that's going to hurt. But obviously, people like Brook Lopez go into foul trouble. Their paint defense really suffers. And, but moving forward, obviously, we'll see what happens. And obviously, with the Knicks, the Knicks, here's the thing. I think it'll come down to a couple things. I think it'll come down to the consistency of Randall, and I think it'll come down to Jalen Brunson becoming more of a passer and more of a guard instead of a two guard. I think Brunson is more of a scorer. He's a guy who wants to get buckets. And he's not really a guy that wants to pass if he feels he can get the bucket. Right? And their defense, it improved. They did lose pretty big on RJ Barrett, which I was surprised about. I didn't really like the trade, but I didn't think the trade was too bad, especially with losing Emmanuel quickly. I think that was a bit questionable, but I get it. In this league, a lot of really strong, talented offensive weapon teams, a lot of teams that can hurt you, and having, big wing defenders, it helps out. It really does. Philly, Joel. If Joel stays healthy, and he can, and I mean healthy, I mean 100% Joel Embiid. I mean 35 points per game, or at least 30 points, 12 rebounds, 2-3 blocks, couple of assists, Joel Embiid. In the playoffs, they're going to be a scary team. They are going to be scary. But it comes down to Joel. It comes down to his health, stays in shape, and him just playing as dominant as he is playing. Because I believe that right now, Joel is the most unstoppable player in the league. When fully healthy. And I would take him over Jokic. I would. Simply because I value defense. I do. That's just me. I value defense. I'm not saying Joker is bad. I understand offensively, Joker brings a bit more with the passing and the playmaking and the ability to run an offense. But I think in the low block, I think in the post, and a bit in the mid-range, I would take Joel. Just because of the strength and the brute force. And I mean, with how this league is, anything's a foul nowadays. You know what I mean? But, and obviously defensively, it's night and day. There's no comparison with Joel and Jokic defensively. In Miami, I think that'll also come down to they did get a really good pickup in Terry Rozier, a bit of a younger guard, a guy who I think is a much better scorer than Kyle Lowry. I don't know if he is as good of a defender as Lowry was. Obviously, Lowry's just more age and kind of not the same shape as he was, but I think now having this guy, once he really fits in with the system, with the culture, I think that Terry Rozier is a really great pickup. An absolutely great pickup. And yeah, I don't think Orlando is going to make too much noise. They're very young. I think they have a little bit to figure out. I think they could be an annoying matchup, though. I do think Orlando with Suggs, with Cole, with Paulo, and Wagner, Franz, and even Mo a little bit, and all these guys, and even Isaac as a wing defender and a good shooter, finisher. I think the Magic can be like a bit of a little thorn in the bush. It's kind of poking at you, and you're trying to step away from it, but then they're right there again, and they're there again. So I think they could be a really strong. They could be a really good team, and I think they have a lot of potential and a lot of growth being such a young team. But I don't think that they are championship contenders yet. I think they are a playoff team. I do believe that they are a playoff team, but they are not a contending team. No. Same thing with Indiana. They just lost Buddy Hield. I think that was a big loss. And they're just very poor defensively. They're one of the worst teams defensively. They have a great team. Don't get me wrong. With Toppin and Halliburton and Turner and all these guys. I think they have a good team. But defensively, no. Defensively, they are very weak. And now we'll actually get into one of the teams on the West that I want to talk about. But until we get there, now we go to the West. Minnesota, I'm locked in on them. I think they have everything. They have, a great rotation, right? Good bench. They have an elite wing, elite weight defender, and just good all around defenders. They have height, length, really good paint presence. One of the best power forwards in the game. An all around superstar at the two guard. I think they have everything that they need to win a championship. I really do. I think, and I understand people will say, Minnesota's offense is not. They have a good offense. They don't struggle to score because when your identity is based off defense, the defensive plays you make, the steals, the turnovers, the ill-advised passes, the bad shots, the last second shots, those get your offense running. But even in the half court set, they have a good offense because they have a lot of threats with guys like Nas Reed being a really good shooter. He can spread the floor. He can play down low. He can post up, Cat posting up. Gobert just being a solid, just interior guy. He's at 7 foot, 7 foot 1, just a guy who can catch lobs, who can finish down low. I'm not saying he's a good post player, but that's not what you need him to be when you have a facilitator like a guy in Conley who can pass and just get him open because Conley is a good shooter in his own right. And obviously Edwards just being as strong as he is, and just as dominant as he is. Again, I think he's arguably the second best shooting guard in the league. I think he can be the first if I think, touches up a bit on his 3-point shooting. And I think that if he gets his playmaking down, I think he could be very strong. But he already is. And then we have the Denver Nuggets. I mean, not much to say there. Jokic, Murray, how much better Jokic makes everyone with Gordon and Porter and all these guys, and Pope being a really good solid wing defender and a shooter. They did lose Bruce Brown. They did. And I think that was a big loss. But I think that how much better Reggie Jackson has gotten as a rotation guard, which I was surprised about. Well, not necessarily surprised, but I didn't see it coming. I think that they're really good. I think they're good. They're really good. OKC, I don't think OKC are contenders yet. I think they're missing a couple things. I think they need to get some more experience. And I'm not saying that because you're not a contender, it doesn't mean you need to make trades. It doesn't mean you need to just get an all-star or superstar. That's not what I believe. I believe that it's more to that. It's not as simple as just saying, okay, well, I'm going to go trade Chet for AD, or I'm going to go trade Shea for this guy, or this dude for... No, it's not that simple. There's a lot, and I think that being a very young team, I think that they have a lot to figure out. But don't get me wrong, they're still a very strong team. I think they're a first, second round team, but I don't think they're championship contenders as of now. Before I get to the one of the team, I do want to go to the Phoenix Suns. I'm out on them. I do not think that they are contenders. I do not think that they have any shot of winning. Simply because I don't see... I see scorers. I see bucket getters. And I understand. In this league, in this day and age, whoever can score more wins. But you got to play some defense. You got to play some defense. And they just don't. They're just not a good defensive team at all. They're arguably, I believe, the worst defensive team in the league. They're just not that good. I mean, they're not Pistons bad, where they just switch everything. And I mean everything. I could go set a screen out there. But they're not that good defensively, no. And I don't think they have a true guard. I don't really see Bradley Beal or Booker really being that good of guards. They have Grayson Allen as a good wing defender, but again, I'm not sold on them. And it's okay if I'm wrong. If they prove me wrong, congrats to them. And I would hope, right? Because that's what this is about sports. Is I can give you all my opinion, but I have to accept that I can be wrong. Yes, and I will accept that. Yes, I will, 100%. And I wish the best for them, but I don't think that they are contenders. No, the Lakers. I don't think they should trade for a big time name. I think they need to just trade for guys to build around AD and LeBron. I think that they need shooters. And I don't mean a Torian Prince or Rui Hachimura shooter. No, no, no. I mean like a Pritchard type shooter or the other shooter on the Celtics. I forgot his name. Forgive me. Or a Pope, a Contavious Caldwell Pope. Guys who can spread the floor. Guys who are knockdown shooters. And good wing defenders. Good perimeter defenders. Because you have arguably the best interior defender in the league in Anthony Davis. Right? But, Reeves plays no defense. D'Lo plays no defense. Reddish is a really good defender, but that's really more what all he is a defender. He's not really that good of a shooter. He's a shooter. Don't get me wrong. He can shoot, but he's not a guy that I feel like you can trust so well. I hate the stigma or the narrative that okay, we're playing bad. Maybe we're not too good. We're just out the AFC. We're a play-in team. We need that superstar. We need the Murray or the All-Star or just a star. We need the Murray, the Trae Young. The Levine. It's like, do you though? You have a guy in Anthony Davis averaging what, 25, 27, and 12. He's your best rebounder, which you need rebounding. You need a solid 5-man like Andre Drummond, I think would be a great pickup. A guy who can get dirty down low. And a guy who can move the best power forward, let me say this again, who can move the best power forward to the power forward spot, which is one of the weaker spots in the league. It's not the same, when there were the Duncans and the Webbers and the Dirks, right? We don't have a lot of 4-men who are as strong as they were. There's not a lot of them no more, right? The 4 position has gotten really weak. There's not a lot of strong, not a lot of them. But AD's still one of them. And he's playing the 5, but if he can play the 4, it creates a lot more problems defensively for a lot of teams because he is a very big threat. There's a lot of mismatches. He can dribble, he can shoot, he can spread the floor. His mid-range is strong, his finishing is strong. As a lob threat, he's really good. But they need a rebounder. And I don't understand why we move the goalposts, we move the formula, the secret formula of how we were able to be so successful in 2020 in the bubble to now we don't do the same thing. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I'm not a fan of the Lakers. I'm a fan of the game, but not the Lakers. We had Dwight. You had JaVale. Dirty work guys who got down low, guys who did their job. You had Pope. You had Kuzma, Danny Green, JR was there, but guys who can shoot, guys who can spread the floor, and guys who were good long wing defenders. And that's what you needed. And that's what made things easy. But again, I'm not the GM. I am not the one who can choose. But I do believe that we need to not just say, well, we need another all-star. No. You just need the proper pieces to build around the guy it should be built around, you know. But yeah, so yeah, just this whole narrative of just trying to create better teams by getting that one guy. No, you create better teams by building around those that are already great and are showing you that they're great, but they need others just to do their role. But again, that's subject to opinion. That's not really something that I can just say that's the right or wrong thing. Then a couple other teams, we have New Orleans, we have Sacramento. I don't really think I see enough. I don't think that they are really anywhere there yet, but sadly, it is crazy for me to say that that the Warriors run is over. It is crazy for me to say that I may not be seeing Steph Curry in the playoffs this year, let alone just the Warriors. And as much as a lot of us may have hated them, as much as a lot of us may have not respected them, I mean, they did what they did, and they were strong. I do believe the Warriors could have had a chance had they moved on from Klay Thompson as early as they could have. I think they should have moved on from him much sooner. Much, much, much sooner. I don't think they should have traded Jordan Poole. I think that he was a guy that, how Klay is now, he would have stepped in immensely. I think they could have traded Draymond, but again, they lacked a lot in defense. They're very weak defensively. So I understand, but also with, Draymond, his antics, who knows? And I actually want to go back to a team in the East, which are the Celtics. I think the Celtics' number one enemy is themselves. I truly believe that. I think one of their biggest enemies is themselves. Will they shoot themselves out of a series? Because we've known them to be a team where, in Game 7 in 2016, they shot God knows how many threes in the last quarter, in the final quarter of regulation. Barely any inside the arc attempts, any in the paint attempts. And just throughout time, we've known the Celtics, especially Tatum and Brown, to settle so much for the three ball. Where I feel like they are more effective is in the mid range, in the low block, because they're very hard to guard. Extremely hard at 6'9", 6'7", the strength, the speed, and just the raw skill. But to step away from that and to shoot as much as they do, I think it's eye-opening. But I think the Celtics are very strong, especially with the addition of KP. I do think they also need another backup big, though. I don't think Cornet, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. I don't think he's as effective or as good as the Celtics need him to be. And I think that they definitely need a rebounder as much as LA needs a rebounder, because Porzingis was never really known to be a rebounder. He's never really known to be that type of guy. He's more of like the 7'3" shooting Ilgauskas, the guy who can finish well, the unicorn, right? The shooter, the guy, and he's a really good shooter for a big. Really good, but he's not that good of a rebounder. But nonetheless, guys, that is my take. Those are my thoughts on the real contenders, the guys who I believe, who have a legitimate shot. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not talk about the Clippers. My mistake. They, it, one word, healthy. Healthy. Two syllables, one word, healthy. They are very strong. They are very strong. Harden stepping into the role that he stepped in and becoming as strong as he did as a playmaker, as a guard, as a scorer. Westbrook being so unselfish to say, you know what? Let me step back and let me allow the better guy to step up and move us forward. Kawhi, an elite perimeter defender. Paul George, elite perimeter defender. A two-way wings. Very strong offensively, very strong defensively. Harden, not as strong at all on defense, but very scary on the offensive end. And unless he chooses to play defense or not, that's up to him. Westbrook, a really great playmaker, a guy who can get everyone involved, a really great off the bench player, very explosive. He When he's hot, he's hot. You kind of have to respect him. He's not just West Brick. He's very strong, very solid. I think the Clippers have it all. They have it all. They have really good rim runners and Zubac and Plumlee. They didn't utilize Tucker enough, which I hate. I think that Tucker was very undervalued and underappreciated. A very pesky, strong, hardworking guy and a hustler, which I feel like is undervalued a lot in the league because he just doesn't score that much. But nonetheless, the Clippers have it all. But will they have health? Will they be healthy? Will Kawhi be healthy? Will Paul George be healthy? Will Harden be healthy? Will Westbrook be healthy? Those are the questions that we need answers to. And we will find out come playoff time. But nonetheless, guys, those are my takes, my opinions, my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's something I said incorrectly, if there's something that you feel you would like to say, or just if you want to expand on the thought I had. I would love to hear it. I would love to learn. As much as I may try to educate you guys on things, I would like to be educated from you guys as well. Because that's what basketball knowledge is about. It's about learning from one another. Thank you guys. God bless you. May peace be with you. And have a great day. Much love.